We're ready to start a new project today, and this is going to be a porcelain dog. This is from Copenhagen, Danish porcelain, fine porcelain. And as you can see, it's got some pretty severe damage. A lot of tiny little pieces. Not a lot of fancy painting on this or anything like that, but there are some cracks radiating out from these breaks that you can't see in your view of this. But you know, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, nothing too great. So I'm just using plain old generic masking tape here, and I like to prepare it ahead of time. You can buy this tape already this size and pay too much for it, or you can buy the cheapo stuff in bulk and cut your own. And I can cut this any size I want. So if I need thinner pieces, I cut it thinner. If I need it thicker, I cut it thicker. So I'm going to use a lot of small pieces on this dog I'm working on, so I want to prepare this ahead of time, and then I can just reach over here and grab these. Alright, this is the Hicksel. This is the place I got it from. It doesn't matter where you get it from. I just ask that you get a fresh batch when you order it. Just look it up online and find a price that's good at a place that's near you. Alright, so I've done my rehearsal build, where as usual, as you've seen me do on many jobs of this type, I like to do a rehearsal build so that I find any sequence of application of parts problem. So often it's important that the order in which I replace these pieces, so that I don't get into some instance where now I have to get some piece in and I can't. So I have also determined that I have some extra parts in my pile of shards here that belongs to a different dog. The person who brought me this object brought me 3, and these pieces right here belong to one of the other dogs. The parts got mixed up. And so what we have here is this completely rebuilt at this point, except for the small shards. And let me turn it so you can see some of them. So I've got a large one here on the top. I've got some smaller ones all around where these pieces come together. And here, this is the point of impact, where it took the main hit, and everything, all the cracks radiate out from there. And so this is what we call a flint chip break, where these pieces, believe it or not, most of these pieces that you're seeing here came out of this hole. So the hole is much bigger on the inside because these flakes came off of it. So out to where my fingernail is here, on the inside is a circle about that big where these all got blasted out. And there's not much point of me putting any of those in here unless there's a large one that will fill a lot of this, because it's just going to be a whole lot of parts that don't line up very well. So it's better to get all these other parts in where it's important to get the good alignment on all the chips along this crack. And they're pretty good sized chips, as you can see here. So and also we've got a broken tail, of which I have these parts right here. So there's the job. So now I'm going to take it apart and reassemble it with the glue and some tape, and hopefully I'll get it all back together except for this hole. I'm using an old beat up paintbrush to do this, and that using it for Hextol will ruin the paintbrush, because you can never get all of the Hextol out of it, and then when it cures you're going to have a hairy spatula instead of a paintbrush. But it's good enough for spreading this around. Now, this is where I need to get one of these shards in here, and if I don't do it now, it's not going to go in here. And there it is. Alright, so I found a couple of little shards here. Put a little Hextol in the space where they go. And so put a little tape on that. Keep it in place. Keep it in alignment. Got another little one up here. Just enough tape to hold it overnight. And we'll glue that in place on the dog tomorrow. Okay, so I'm using this A+B epoxy putty to fix the hole in this dog, and this is what the package looks like. It's a brand called A+B epoxy, and so I've got a couple of little balls of A and B, and we'll mix that up and we'll be ready to go. So the reason I was stacking and cutting in half and stacking and cutting in half is because with this epoxy I don't have distinct color difference in the two sides, and so it's harder to see that you're mixing it evenly. So if I stack it and cut it, you get an exponential multiplication of layers. So the first time I take 2, I stack it, cut it in half, that's 4, stack it, cut it in half, that's 8, do it again, 16, again 32, and very quickly you have a 1,000 layers, and so when I mix it, it will get mixed thoroughly and evenly pretty quickly. This is the impact point, so when it got struck, the piece is shattered and flaked off on the inside, so the whole the circle of this, the circumference of this circle on the inside of this thing is out to about here. So it goes all the way around about like this. And so it's very, very thin right here. And so I'm going to have to do some fancy filling here to get this so that I can fill this hole. Otherwise, every time I try to fill this, I'm just going to be shoving this stuff into a hole that will never fill up. So what I'm going to do is reach in with this dental spatula that I have. It has a right angle on it. And I can reach in here and thicken this layer all around the hole with my A+B putty. And so I'll have that'll make it stronger and give me more purchase on adding the part that will fill the hole. In other words, I have to build this up in the back side so it's thicker, and probably even on this first go round I will partially fill this hole and just hopefully leaving just enough room to get my tool in and out of there. And so anyway, that's generally the idea. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go, but we'll give that a shot and see how it goes. So I'll take a little bit of this putty, put it on my spatula, and get it on the inside there. A little water on my tool, help me smooth it out and keep it from sticking to the tool. So I don't know, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, if my hands are gonna be in the way or what. But so I'm gonna take a bigger piece of this and stick it right on the edge here, and then reach inside and smear that. Now it's sticking to my finger. Alright, so we've diminished the size of the hole. I'm going to try what I just did on it one more time. Get my finger wet there so it doesn't stick. There we go. And now I reach in here and squeeze that down into the putty I already put in there. It's not pretty, but it works. So the idea here is to make this hole smaller and smaller. Dare I do one more? Certainly, why not? That's about all I can expect to do today. We'll come back tomorrow and pick up where we left off. Okay, so this has been sitting overnight and it's cured, and I'm getting ready to fill up the rest of that hole there. So I want to get some of this in here. Underneath. I'm just basically gonna patch that hole. A little water, smooth that out. So again, knot just goes back on the shelf. We set it overnight. Come back tomorrow and we'll file that down. And then also I've got a lot of fills to do along these cracks, a lot of chips and stuff. And we'll do all that with Milliput. And that'll be our next video. And now for the cracks and the chips along all these brake lines, I'm going to use this Milliput Superfine White, which I use on just about everything where I need chips and cracks filled. It's the white. It's just very, very white. This also comes in black and terracotta and a few other colors. Not much. Gray and yellow, I think, are the other colors. But those three, white, black, and terracotta, are the colors I use the most because that's what we use in ceramic restoration. So I've got part A and B mixed into a sized my balls for that, and now I'm going to mix that. Okay, so here we go. Well, it's the next day, and all of our fills, the A plus B putty and the Milliput fills, are all hard, and time to file it down. So I'm still filing down the Milliput, and I have this sandpaper that's made for porcelain. This comes in fine, medium, and rough, and it comes. It's got a foam back on it, and it's made for doll makers. Go to a doll making website. Look for porcelain doll maker sandpaper. Yeah, you can find something. I don't know what it's called. Somebody gave this to me. I like it. It works great. So what I'm doing is I filed down the Milliput along these crack lines, and the file doesn't get all of it, so I'm sanding off the remaining. And this stuff takes it right off, and it won't scratch any of the porcelain. It really
good dog
takes this. Takes this stuff off fast. Okay, and another tool I want to show you is the scraper I have. Hold on a second. I have an area here under his arm. Can you see that? Where I can't get a file in there to go around this curve without mangling it. So we have this set of scrapers. Get this package. I got it from this company called Micromark. They make tools for model makers, like model railroad and shipbuilders, that kind of stuff. And these are tool steel scrapers. Comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different styles, and that's what I use for things like this area where I have to get in here, and I can't sand this, but I can scrape it. It doesn't look like I'm getting anything done, but I am. And this is a great tool for getting into these hard to get areas. Each tool has two ends on it, a small and a medium, or a small and a medium and a large, or whatever. Anyway, that's good for getting into areas like this. Alright, so I filed down all the Milliput, all the fills. I will still have to go and do another round of Milliput on this, and not all over, just there are a few spots here and there that need a touch up, which is typical. Alright, so that's that. One more round of Milliput, a little bit of filing, and then we go to paint. I'm not going to show the next step of the Milliput. It's just more of the same of what you just seen. So we've got our Milliput sanded down, filed down and sanded, and now I've got to put a couple of layers of cold glaze on it. And I'm not going to make you watch all of it, but you never see me doing this, so I thought I'd film it. So I'm going to turn the fan on. It's going to get noisy. So I've mixed up the paint to paint this little puppy, and these are the colors I'm using: titanium white and Titan buff. They're golden high flow acrylics. Titan buff is a unique color to Golden's palette. They made this color by mistake, and it's very, very popular amongst us restorers, so they continue to make it. I use it very often. I just did a light pass because I don't want to get too much heavy paint on so I don't get runs. So I'm going to dry what I just did and hit it again. Alright, I have to paint this spot here. I've mixed up my color already, and I put a liquid frisket around it, which is dry right now. And I'm using this as the liquid frisket. This is made for, usually watercolor artists use this, but I use it fairly often. Several brands out there. Basically, it's a latex paint on frisket dissolved in ammonia and air dries. So that's my frisket. This just rubs off this color, this spot. I mixed up the color already. I used Golden's colors. These are the two that I used to get it, to get that shade. And I'm going to run it through my airbrush. So I'm going to rub this frisket off, and I just roll it with my finger. And it just rolls off. Kind of like that. So I've rubbed off my masking, and I've got some overspray on here, and this is just a Q-tip with a little bit of alcohol in it. I'll take it